right, so where are we? We are on daily pattern. It is Fenestro by Simona Cardera. It's not exactly a grid. It starts with that shape, but it's not in a grid. So it starts with a cross like that, equidistant. So not really a cross, more of a plus sign, right? And then you do these little sort of S-shapey thing, one backwards, one forwards. And then you connect them like this. So you basically make this little bracket here in the corner. And then you aura that. And on the inside you aura again, kind of. Or you can put, you know, seeds or whatever, those different variations. But basically it's these 3 steps. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Those 3 steps are the basic pattern. So let's see what I can do. This one shows it in sort of a inside of a mandala. I don't think that's where I'm headed with it. I'm seeing maybe some overlapped ones. So let's see where I go with it, because you never know. I was thinking of maybe starting with a string, but I don't think so. I'm just gonna go for it. I'm gonna put one kind of in the middle. Oh, sneezing is gonna happen. Oh, excuse me. Bless me. Allergies. So much fun to have allergies. You know that? You know, I just might put a slight bit of pencil to kind of make a composition. I want a larger one here. And then maybe a smaller one here and maybe here. I might want one here. I'm not sure I want them all going the same direction, but I'm just kind of planning out a little bit of composition. And maybe here. I'm going to start with that. I'm going to start with this big one that's going to go like approximately here. And see what happens. Okay, so we want one that's where the arms are about the same so that it makes a square and not a rectangle. And then I'm going to go ahead and erase these. Guidelines around that one. All right, so then you actually make a bracket. Over and up, over and up. And I'm going to go over and up, over and up. That's easier for me than doing whatever that was for step 1, is to do this as a bracket. Oop, those need to touch. And over and up. like that. And then just do an aura around it. Remember to turn your tile so that you're always drawing in a way that's comfortable for you. If you can go all the way around and it's comfortable for you, you know, do that. And that's the basic tangle right there. And then you just embellish however you feel led to embellish. I think I'm going to go ahead and do an aura in the middle here. Oops. I didn't turn my tile, and so I ended up kind of a little bit off on that corner, but that's okay. I'll just fill that corner in, and then we'll do that over here. Just make them the same, right? When you make a mistake, all you have to do is make that mistake in other places as well, and then it's an on purpose and it's no longer a mistake, and there you go, all right? There we go. Just kind of thinking. It'll take me a moment. All right. So I'm going to do this one. That's my next one. And then the bracket goes over and out, over and out, over and out, over and out. You don't see that one. Over and out, over and out, like that. And then an aura around that. Just going to leave that for the moment. I'm going to draw them all first and then decide what I want to do. I'm going to put another one right here. do one there like that. And do the aura. I think the aura is very important to this particular pattern. Really sets the tone for it. I may do an extra aura on some of them, but for sure you need that aura. Okay. And now I'm wondering what it would look like with, if they weren't square, if they were more of a cross, like a rectangle instead of a square. Would it make any difference? It would. It would really kind of throw it off, I think. Okay, never mind. Bit of an aura. Like that. And I'm going to put one here. Like that. Okay. Okay, something like that. And then I'm just going to embellish different ones in different ways. Get rid of my little guide marks here. Okay. Excuse me. I think maybe in this one is going to have this going on here in the middle. This needs something else because it looks funny. Maybe Maybe that. Okay, that's all right. I want this more like that. I want those to line up more. Yeah, I like that better. These need to be more in line with each other. Yeah. Oh, I like that. Okay. This one needs some dark in it. Okay. I think this one needs to have the border dark. Right. And I think this one also needs to have the border dark. Trying to balance out my darks and my lights. All right, I like that. think I want yeah, okay, that works. Oops. For some reason that's not working. Okay, that's better. Sometimes certain directions just don't work for you at a particular moment. Going that direction just wasn't working for me. I was making a woggly line. Do I want them all that way? Yeah, I think I want them all that way. You know, maybe I'll do the other two going the other way. That would be there and there, and this would be there and there. It's much harder when you don't see the other end. Something like that. That's interesting. I like that. And then my other guys, let's see. I want another florally like thing. In this one. Something like that. And this one needs yeah. So if you guys have been following me and my weather, it has finally cooled off a little bit. And instead of being in the upper 80s and low 90s, I think today is going to be in the upper 70s. So that's nice. Oh yeah, I like that. Okay, and I've got all these lines going on here. I need some lines over here or over here. I think over here, maybe I'll just do that on the border. So at least where I'm sitting here in the window, it's a little bit overcast today, which is nice. So the sun is not beating in on me like it has been in the last week or so. I'm not roasting sitting here, which is delightful. Allergies have still kicked in though, which means whatever is blooming out in the yard is still going at it. It hasn't stopped for the winter. All right, that's good. And then I think I want something in the middle of this, but maybe I didn't want it to end up being a circle. Maybe something like that. Not really making me happy. That's better. That's better. It needs something though. I'm gonna do this. I have no idea why I'm making these choices. They're just kind of coming to me as I draw. And they're just embellishments to the main tangle. You can do whatever you want. Whatever feels good to you. I could have done them all the same. I could have done them lined up in rows. You know, all sorts of different ways. All right, that's better. It needed some black. This feels a little bare, but maybe it just needs shading, or Needs something. I'll try this. Yeah, keep going with the dots. All right, that helped that. Okay, so now I'm going to shade. Where'd my pencil go? There it is. First, I'm going to start where I usually start, which is anything that's overlapping. Overlapping that. This one's overlapping this. Right. This one's overlapping this one. And I almost always, not always, but almost always, I start my shading in my overlaps. Just because I seem to be able to see what I want in shading better if the overlaps are already done. And then I can just kind of feel what needs more something and what is fine with just the overlap shading. Sometimes all it needs is the overlap shading. Oops. I missed this whole one. See, this is why I do what I do. This whole one is on top of this one. So it needs some shading right here. Okay. All right, then I stop and I just look at it and say, you know, what else does it need? What do I want to accomplish in this particular tile? And I think what I want to accomplish is I want to really make this one stand up off the page, and then this one next. I want the different layers to be much more evident on this tile. And the way I'm going to achieve that is I'm going to make sure that this is up higher than this one, and this one's on top of this one, by putting the shadows all the way around, and by making these shadows for the ones further up bigger. See how when I have my, let's see something that's kind of solid. No. My hand works fine. Okay, see where my shadow is from my hand on the paper, and how as the closer I get it down to the paper, the smaller the bit of shadow is and more distinct. If my hand's like right on, let me take that away. If my hand's right on the table, I have a little bit of shadow because my light source is over here. And so I have a little bit of shadow happening right here, right? But where the light source is here, I don't have one. Okay, can you see that? It's over here. But this thumb is further from the light source than this finger. So that smaller bit of shading, and it gets bigger as it goes this way. And see how much bigger this is because it's further away, and how much softer the edge is compared to that edge. Now when I lift my hand, look how much bigger the shadow becomes. All right, so in order to give my drawing the depth that I want, the one that's on the top has to cast a larger shadow than the one that's lower, and the one that's all the way at the bottom casts the least shadow. Does that make some sense? So that's what I want to do, is make that differentiation on my page, and I have to decide which one is at the absolute bottom, and I'm going to work my way up. I believe this one and this one, they're kind of on the same plane, and then this one and this one are kind of on the same, and then this one's way up on top. So on these ones here, I do want to bring them up off of the page. So I'm going to go around very slightly, and I have to also, the other thing I have to decide is where is my light source. I think I've already kind of established by the way I've already shaded that my light source is actually coming from like over here. So I'm going to put a dot. No, I don't want it over there. I want my light source coming this way. I want my light over here. I want my light over here. I'm going to put a little dot there to say that's where my light is coming from. And so if my light is coming from here, these edges are going to be darker than these edges. And this point is going to have the least amount of shading. This can have a little bit more. So I actually need to go in here and remove a little bit of my shading on this side, and I'm not going to take a lot out. I'm just going to tap my kneaded eraser just along the side to make it just slightly bit smaller, so that the side with more shadow can be more prominent. So I just want to take a little bit of that out where I've already put in. Just a little bit, not all of it. I don't want to erase it all together. Just want to make it just slightly lighter. Which is why I really like this kneaded eraser, because you can do that. Okay, so now I can go back in with my darker shadows. So the light's coming from here, so this for sure is darker and a little bit bigger. And this. And this can be like right on the table and hardly, not even really cast a shadow. Same here, that can be like right on the paper, not casting a shadow. But over here, this is going to cast a shadow. And it's going to cast one over here. And these are going to be my smaller shadows. So I don't need much. And I can just blend just a tiny little bit. I don't want it to like end up way out and about, because it's basically touching the page. So it's casting just a little bit of a shadow. But you do want to soften it, because you don't want that hard edge. And if it's too much, you can go back and you can tap a little bit of it out. Okay. That's looks good to me. Okay, so the next layer. Once again, light's coming from here. So I can put just a teeny bit of shading right here. But most of it's going to be on this side. It can be a little bit fatter and a little bit darker. And it's still continuing with this down here, but I think I want to make it just a little deeper than I had made it before. And on this side I can just put a little tiny bit because it is up. Now this one's casting a bit of a shadow all the way down onto the page, but not much, just a little bit right around the edge. Same here, a little bit around the edge, not much. Barely anything on these two ends. But over here, I want a little bit more. I want a little darker. A little darker and a little deeper there. And there. And in this corner where the two of them were really overlapping, it would actually be pretty dark. Okay, so let's blend that out. You'll notice I use, right now I'm using my little tiny blending stump because the little points in here are so small. I want to make sure I get in there. Just a little bit on that side. And I'm turning my tile to try to keep my hands out of the graphite so I don't make a smeary mess all over the place. Sometimes you just end up with a smeary mess, and so you know, you kind of have to keep your eraser handy, but I'm trying not to. So just gently here, almost not a shadow. But on this side, a little bit more, a little bit darker, and in there. Okay. And now this big one. It's going to cast a bigger shadow all the way around, so I can go ahead and go all the way around. Make sure you're touching the line also in your piece, so otherwise it will feel like the shadow doesn't belong to that object, it belongs to something else, and that's not what you want. Okay, so then down here, these can start casting a bigger shadow, and the further from the light source, the bigger the shadow is going to be. So it's going to be even bigger and wider at this end than it is over here. But it's going to be really pretty dark. And it's going to be bigger at this end. Same thing over here. It's going to be pretty dark, and it's going to be a bit wider because it's up further from the page. Okay, and now for this one I can use my bigger blending stump because it doesn't have quite as much detail, and I want to spread that graphite further away from the edge, so I can go ahead and use the big one. And here where all of them are overlapping in that back spot way back here, I just want to blend all of that in just a little bit to just kind of gray that out to show that that's way back underneath everything. So you make sure your your edges are nicely smooth. And if you have too much graphite on your blending stump, don't hesitate to stop. Get out your emery board, clean it off a little bit, right? Get rid of some of that so it's not so dark, and then come back. And I sometimes will lay it almost flat and use the edge of it to really smooth out this far edge, to just make it so that you can't see much at all. And then I see right here I've got a spot that's not touching and it looks funny, so I want to make sure I've got that in there. And if it's not dark enough, you can go back in here and put the darks back in, because this is where it needs to be the darkest, right up against the edge. And then go back in here. I'm going to smooth this out. Right there. But I am going to come back and I'm going to make sure that this is nice and dark, right there at the edge. So I don't have any gaps, because that just makes it so it doesn't look like it's attached. You want your shadow attached to your object. And then just tiny little bit of smoothing again, just to make sure that there's no hard edges. Can you see how that now this one's sticking up further than the others? I can. I think that came out really good. Alright, so let me write down the name of this and sign it. Where'd my pen go? Oh, there it is. Right in front of my face. Duh! Okay. Okay, so I think I want it to go that way as a composition. So and this is Fenestro. That's the name of the tangle, Fenestro. And I think I'm done for the day. You zoom in so you can see it good. What do you guys think? I think that one came out really good. I really enjoyed myself today. And this pattern lends itself to a lot of variation, which I really like. So there you go, folks. Today's daily pattern is Fenestro.